Hello, my name's Tom Cahill. It's Wednesday, the 27th of January 2016. This video is just a little update to one I did about a month ago. The subject of the video was the Madeline McCann case and how it was a statistically impossibly poor cover-up, making me come to the conclusion, or concluding, that it wasn't a cover-up and the whole thing was contrived, possibly reactively, but with a slightly longer run-up than we were told to believe, and in fact the whole thing was, not covered up because of the amount of lies and stuff that surrounded the case, and then the changes in stories and the contradictions were so frequent that even if you were a bad liar, you'd struggle to tell that many lies. And of course you had so many parties involved because you had this tapas 7 and the couple, and their stories kept changing and they kept doing obnoxious things like trying to sue Goncalo Amaral, and that was the kicker for me. The libel trial. If he writes a book saying I was a detective, I got taken off the case, I was going to arrest them, this was the evidence I was going to arrest and charge them on, that's not libel, is it? So how can you have a libel case? Right now, this is what I did, which was a mistake. I said that he'd been doing the Masonic M of masonry sign. I made a mistake. You make an M. The defining feature is these two bits of your fingers are out and the middle two fingers are stuck together. I said he did the Mason sign on the picture coming out of the court here, and the only picture I could find. This was actually incorrect. I don't know, it's just that that's the one they frequently do because you can do it very subtly. Sometimes the two fingers aren't actually touching, sometimes it's more like this. But anyway, I couldn't, maybe I did see him doing that, but either way, I've looked back at it to see if there's any more, information on him being a Mason, because I did have a check at the time. But anyway, I just that was just me, an oversight on my part. He wasn't doing the Masonic M sign, and now I remember, I don't think I actually thought he did. I was getting it mixed up with the hidden hand sign, and the hidden hand is where, for some unknown reason, you've just got your hand obscured, so you can only see part of your hand. Now, if you look up, often they actually mix the two together, so you can actually see them doing the Masonic M. There's a famous picture of Al Pacino and Robert De Niro on some film, and they're doing that sign on some gangster film. They're both in on the cover of the film, or one of the pose pictures, the promotional pictures. I don't know if they're doing that to say that they're Masons in the film, or whether they're Masons. Well, obviously they're Masons, but I don't know what the purpose of them doing on that specific picture is. But yeah, they often mix the two together. But you see, the thing is that I've looked more, and now I've noticed that he's actually doing Mason hand signs on lots of the pictures, and there aren't, I say lots of the pictures, that's incorrect, there aren't lots of pictures of Goncalo Amaral on the internet. There's only a few. He's not one of these people who gets multiple shots taken, all the time. There's relatively few. And the other thing I've said a few times is with his thumb and forefinger, he'll sort of make a kind of V shape. Now that's another very, very famous Mason sign, and often he'll combine that with his arms not being, it's almost like you've folded your arms and then you've just pivoted your arm up and made a V shape, so that you've got like a set square shape, like a square on the square. Ozzy Osbourne often does that one. Ozzy Osbourne's most famous picture is of him doing the Freemason sign, where he's got his arms folded, one-handed, but one arm is, folded, and the other one is with his hand on his face, or, sort of with his hand underneath his chin. I forget how it goes. The point is, they're both, it's the same sign. It's on the square, it's the square, like on the square is a Freemason expression. So anyway, that Goncalo Amaral, you just stick in Goncalo Amaral into the internet, or McCann libel trial, or Goncalo Amaral libel trial, and you'll find no end. Well, I'm using the wrong words here. You'll immediately find that on a significant portion of the pictures he's doing those signs. What's more important with this one is that, as I said, he doesn't get many pictures taken, right? So there aren't loads and loads and loads of pictures to trawl through. But sorry, the more important thing to remember is this, is that whereas we've all made that sign probably in the past, maybe millions of times, well, thousands of times, it's the fact that if you've only got 10 pictures of you going on the internet and 5 of them you're doing these things, it seems very odd. You know, like it could be a very clever photographer catching him just as he's moving about and he's putting his hand in his coat to get his wallet out for the hidden hand. Yeah, it's possible, but the point is, when you consider that trial and the obvious Freemasonic links, then it's obvious to people who are in the know what's going on. And of course, the other thing about the hidden hand is that's not the hidden hand as masonry pulling strings behind the, you know, it basically means they're controlling this specific thing. That the actual hand signs mean different things. The general M of Freemasonry just means you're in the Masons. So does the you know, the kind of set square, either with your thumb and your forefinger, or with your, you know, making it with your arms, making it with your forearms, or if you're doing them both at the same time, which he sometimes is. And then it's the fact that then he gets a picture taken of him doing that. And that's the picture the photographer puts forward. You see, that's the clincher. But you see, people who aren't familiar with this, it's a bit like telling them that you an airline pilot for a job and they don't know what an aeroplane is. They'll think the whole thing sounds very far-fetched. But as soon as you realise aeroplanes exist, and you know, you get your head around the fact that you can actually fly, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, to the uninitiated, or what they call them, the profane, yeah, it seems strange, but absolutely 100% that Goncalo Amaral is doing far too many Freemason hand signs. And the more I thought about that video, this whole concept of libel, I don't speak Portuguese, so it possibly might be difficult, but there's absolutely no way in a million years that he could possibly get sued for libel. So maybe the UK papers are just stretching the truth and they've got some other law in Portugal, maybe more like harassment, or maybe they've actually sued him for sort of improper use of police documents and the UK papers have just lied about it. It could be something like that, but see, again, that's very flawed, because, I mean, this could be wrong, but the story is that in Portugal, the police files were all made public after a certain amount of time anyway. So anyway, thanks for listening. It's Wednesday, well, it's basically the night still, it's Tuesday, so it's only just gone into Wednesday. It's Wednesday, the 27th of January 2016. Right, thanks for watching. I'd appreciate your comments. Oh yeah, sorry, one more thing. I'm going to put a link either on an annotation or in the description at least, and it will be to a video that I did on Gladio, Operation Gladio, and how there was never a point in history that I'm aware of, despite the fact they put things on the TV talking about it having happened in the 70s and stuff. There was never a point in history where all of a sudden they said, right, Gladio is over, Operation Gladio is finished. That never happened. It didn't happen. And so I you know, as I said, it just continues. It just continues on. You know, the same situation continues on. And just like with this historic child abuse, the inference being it obviously can't be happening now because history is in the ancient past. It's the same with Gladio. They put it on the telly because I always wondered why they would actually put quite a substantive report on it on the TV, because on Panorama or something all about it. It was on about 10 years ago, and the reason is because they want people to think, well, they're being out and open about it now, so obviously it must have stopped. But of course it hasn't stopped, has it? That's the whole con. It's like historic paedophilia. It's like historic false flag terrorism. You know, it's historic. It's like you're putting the thought in someone's head without telling them, we've stopped it, we don't do it. You just imply you've stopped doing it by saying it's historic. It's quite clever. Anyway, thanks very much.